We obviously watch the show Dragon Ball for its characters, but more than anything, we watch it for its fights. In this 3-video series, we're going to analyze every fight Goku has ever had, from Yamcha in the desert to Broly in the Arctic, and every fight in between. And today, in this first video, we're going to look at every fight that Goku has had in OG Dragon Ball. Up first, Goku versus Yamcha. When Goku and Yamcha first meet, it is force meeting force. Goku has the body mechanics of the strikes that he's throwing down and an understanding of where to hit people in the face, in the body, poking in the eyes. He has a style that is similar to basic karate and kung fu. So he's throwing really hard strikes, but he's very, very telegraphy. The next major fight that we have is Goku versus Giran.
He's back! Certain circumstances prevented him from hearing the announcement.
I was taking a nap.
He's still relying primarily on brute force here, and he almost loses by ring out, and would have if not for the Nimbus and his tail growing back.
Yay! My tail grew back.
Oh no, it's back!
So when he's actually in this fight, you don't really get to see much in the way of technique. Even when he's stuck in Giran's merry-go-round gum, you don't really see any technique. He basically just struggles against it with pure brute force until he breaks out of the gum. And so we don't really get much in the way of seeing him develop as a fighter right now, where he's just, at this point, he's showing off all of the strength that he's gained by training with Master Roshi. Next up, Goku versus Nam. During this fight with Nam, Goku showcases speed, power, and durability. However, his techniques are still fairly simple and straightforward. He employs some basic forearm blocks. He utilizes strange attacks like spinning like a top that only work because of his overwhelming physical ability. And he has high-risk moves, like the spinning top, that set him up to be hit by giant telegraphed moves like Nam's attack from the air. The only reason he's able to survive that attack from the air is, once again, due to his physical strength. And once Nam uses his ultimate attack and it doesn't work, there's not much in the way of stopping him from being beaten by Goku. Thus far, we've really only seen Goku just be stronger than his opponents. Now we get to one of the biggest fights in the whole series up to this point. Actually, probably is the biggest fight in this series up to this point. It's Goku versus Jackie Chun. So Goku's going to fight Master Roshi, although he doesn't know it.
As the Earth's most experienced fighter, the old man clearly has a huge arsenal of techniques to choose from. So what will this next unbeatable move be? Today on Dragon Ball.
In this fight, he gets points for creative usage of his tail. He uses the Kamehameha and the Zanzoken, which are impressive, but once again, they are big moves with a large amount of risk, relying more on pure power and speed than anything else. Now, something that he copies here, the Mad Monkey technique, after seeing Roshi's drunken boxing technique, is actually pretty skillful. He's able to dodge effectively and use unconventional movements to get around Roshi's techniques, who is arguably the more physically powerful and definitely the more skilled of the two fighters. He begins to attack from blind spots. Techniques are still like karate and kung fu, but he is getting more skillful. He uses a lot of thrusting elbows at this same time as well. Goku is put down by Roshi's hypnosis, but then is saved by outside interference from Bulma. He begins using some feints. Roshi has to use a lot of power to blow up the moon.
The sky! It's been de-mooned! It's gone!
Putting Goku at an advantage for the rest of the fight.
Ooh, what a drag for Jackie Chun!
So at this point, he starts to showcase a wider variety of strikes and blocks. Still some big movements, but a lot of smaller, tighter movements that show his technical prowess is improving. Lots of strikes are still full body power strikes, He gets countered in the final strike. He doesn't have a full understanding of gauging distance yet.
So what's it like to run around as a giant scary monster? I don't know.
Next up, Goku versus General Blue.
Stop picking on my friends and deal with me, you big bully!
In this fight, there's dodging, countering, attacking from blind spots. He's employing everything he learned in the tournament during this fight, even attacking vitals before following up with big strikes. So he's essentially throwing in some smaller attacks to put his opponent off in order to hit with his big strikes, instead of just throwing those big strikes from the beginning like he was doing with Yamcha. So he's learning. He can be taught.
My eyes!
Next up is a big one. Goku versus Tao Pai Pai. Mercenary Tao. Alright, so this fight actually happens in a couple of different rounds because Goku loses the first time. In round 1, we have some technical improvements from Goku, but they are not enough to deal with Tao's skill. Tao is an expert fighter who has killed a lot of people using the least amount of force possible to do the most amount of damage. Evident when he used his tongue to kill Blue by hitting him in the temple. Tao is able to dodge and do things with minimal movement and deliver pinpoint strikes, even with his Dodon Ray, to inflict maximum damage. It doesn't turn out well for Goku. In round 2, Goku is still getting overwhelmed technically, but the strength gained from Korin's training has made him able to withstand the beating that Tao delivers. After he's used this time to analyze the way Tao fights, he uses a feint to deliver a strong blow and then latches onto Tao with his legs, pummeling him in the face. Tao at this point knows that he's outclassed and resorts to less than honorable combat, which doesn't end up so well for him. Next up, Goku versus the entire Red Ribbon Army.
Now to get those Dragon Balls!
Goku runs in Tony Jaa style, a la the Protector. He's dropping dudes left and right while evading all kinds of automatic weapons and rocket launchers and tanks and anything else you can think of. He knows that these guys are not a challenge, so he just hits them in the body or the head, takes them out in one go. Big flying karate kicks, lunging forward with big punches. He doesn't care. He's just dropping bodies left and right. Next up, Goku versus Staff Officer, General, Admiral, Black.
Hold your fire! This man isn't black! What?
Black is actually a pretty decent fighter by normal standards. He takes advantage of his surroundings and his reach. Goku is much stronger and faster and is pretty much able to one-shot him before Black can really react. Both this and the run-up to this fight against all of the soldiers felt like an action martial arts movie. Also, the main reason he was able to do all of this stuff is primarily because he is so much more physically impressive than his opponents, rather than more skillful. Now, while Goku is skilled, I would be willing to bet that Black is more skilled than Goku, just nowhere near, and I mean nowhere near, as strong, fast, or tough. Next up, Goku versus Sky Dragon. We've got some dodging big attacks with leaps. He does a technique that appears to be a variety of feints before landing a big strike. This is very similar to the vein of old school kung fu movies, where they're trading blows back and forth, kind of stepping and throwing big strikes. You know that those techniques are not necessarily going to be effective, but they're big, impressive, visually impressive moves.
You have robbed me of my vengeance, Goku, and for that I thank you.
Goku versus Pamput.
Well, he's extremely late.
It's expected, really. I'm used to my opponents running away.
Wait! I'm here!
Goku drops this guy so fast. Just like completely bodies him. He utilizes a counter, and then with the hardest bone in his body, his elbow, he just slams the dude in the midsection right in the solar plexus. He seems to be learning. He's not wasting any time taking this guy out.
He's knocked out!
Next up is one of my favorite fights in the entire series. Goku versus Krillin.
And begin!
In this one, we get a lot of smaller movements, not big rushing attacks. I feel like Goku is giving Krillin respect, which I love. Krillin needs that respect here. He's put just as much work as Goku in. I'm glad that Goku does just not dominate him and that it's actually a good fight. He's still taking big steps. He's utilizing a wide variety of strikes. He has high-speed technical exchanges with Krillin. There's blocking, followed by immediate retaliation. Timing and distance have both improved considerably for Goku. His techniques seem like karate, kung fu, some taekwondo because of the multiple kicks on the same leg without setting it down, a little bit of Muay Thai because he has a few big multiple kicks, setting the leg down every time. He's not so good at dealing with other people's feints. He has difficulty handling Krillin being aggressive as well. And it turns out that he's been holding back the entire time, which is not a good strategy for combat and can lead you to getting overwhelmed or caught off guard by your opponent. So, dumb Goku, always looking for a good fight, and not showing Krillin the respect that he should be shown. I'm upset.
It looks painful. No, I mean, it looks like Krillin is down!
Next up, Goku versus Tien. This fight starts off with big movements, trying to rely on pure speed and power to overwhelm Tien. But Tien is very perceptive, 3 eyes, and skilled, so it doesn't work. Smaller movements from Goku as the fight goes on. He has some simultaneous attack and defense. He's using his tail as a weapon, even if it's just for a small hit, and using energy in the air to stay mobile for attacking. So he is not able to just straight up use his full power to overwhelm his opponent because Tien is both strong and skilled. So he has to rely on skill instead of just, I'm stronger than you, you go down.
That was the most exhilarating rush. I haven't felt this alive in a long time. It feels wonderful.
So, what you're saying is you like getting beat up?
Goku versus Tambourine. In this fight, he's able to overwhelm his opponent with pure speed and power. It's a little tricky. I think Dragon Ball makes a good point of showcasing that skill development comes when you are pushed against people who are relative to yourself instead of always being the strongest. He has a good use of combinations here.
I'm gonna eat it.
Goku versus King Piccolo, Part 1. Super aggressive fight. He's more skilled than King Piccolo, like obviously more skilled than King Piccolo, but King Piccolo really overpowers him. So Goku is getting a taste of his own medicine here, because even though he's the more skilled of the opponents, Piccolo is way stronger. So Goku bites a lot in this fight, which you gotta love, because that's real fighting. Whenever Goku's in a tight spot, biting is his go-to.
He's gonna choke me to death! Quick, Goku, use your instincts!
Unfortunately, in this first part, Goku is overwhelmed and he does lose. In part 2 of this fight, after drinking the Ultra Divine Water, Goku is relative to Piccolo in terms of strength. Goku utilizes throws, dodging. His skill is starting to show, even though Piccolo is probably slightly more physically impressive than Goku. Goku is attacking vitals and limbs and is putting pressure on with unrelenting aggression. This really showcases why Piccolo hates martial artists, because even though he's stronger, somehow they're still winning. However, when Piccolo finally does land a few blows, the power gap leaves Goku mostly debilitated. Goku's tenacity keeps him in the fight, and he is able to put everything he has into a final fight-ending blow. Saying power seems like cheating at this point. Alright, next we've got Goku versus Chi-Chi. Goku does a really good job showcasing a lot of dodging and blocking during this fight. Next fight, rematch, Goku versus Tien. In this fight, we've got some slipping, so he's moving to one side as a strike comes in. He's conserving energy, lots of blocking, simultaneous attack and defense. Tien is keeping up. Goku seems to be using a lot of smaller movements, and rather than continue with the head-to-head pro wrestling style test of strength, Goku uses that moment to launch an attack. This proves that he's not just thinking with his ego or his enjoyment, he wants to win. He is putting his all into thinking about how he can win this fight. He's thinking multiple steps ahead and reacting very well. Goku's grappling has even improved, which is a really big weak point of his. He's very pro wrestling style, but it is improving. Goku takes off his weights and makes relatively quick work of Tien with his improved speed, showcasing that once again, when Goku's in a tight spot, the only thing that works is more power.
This belt does belong to you, right?
This is once again an instance of Goku winning because he is physically more impressive. Alright, this is the last fight. We've got Goku versus Ma Jr., or as we know him, Piccolo. We've got some quick combat. It's back and forth. Goku is waiting until the last second to dodge. He's slipping, dodging, and attacking with the same leg at different levels. He's very acrobatic. It's a lot of jumping and whatnot. Goku is staying close to his enemy in combat, so he's utilizing a lot more technical skill in this infighting because he's not jumping out from very far away to throw a big attack and then have that miss. He's just staying in close. He is punching from the waist, much like a karate fighter would, or a kung fu fighter. Once Piccolo grows into his massive form though, Goku pretty much just resorts to brute force. When Piccolo shrinks back down, we get straight up brawling between these two fighters. Multiple kicks with the same leg without putting it down. Uppercut into a deep side lunge like a combination of karate and boxing. And he wins with a big, massive headbutt. When Goku's in trouble and all the chips are down, he's either going to bite you or headbutt you. And that fight rounds out the end of Dragon Ball. If we look at the very beginning of Dragon Ball, we get Goku throwing some very simple attacks, one after another. They are not really in combination. He doesn't have as much of a good sense of distance. He's just sort of throwing his rock-like body at his opponent, and the opponent can't survive because they're not as strong as him. However, as he ends up meeting people who are stronger than him or relative in strength to him, he has to learn some skills. He has to learn how to fight smart, and he has to start employing new techniques and strategies. So his fighting style from the beginning of Dragon Ball to the end of original Dragon Ball definitely improves, but it's still very Eastern. Like I said, big strikes like karate and kung fu. He's got a little bit of boxing involved in there, just a little bit, like a tiny bit. Now we will see in the next video that we do the changes from the beginning of Dragon Ball Z to the end of Dragon Ball Z are some massive style changes. I'm the Anime Trainer. This has been Real Anime Training, and I'm out, guys.